Hey, this is Kenny from Kenny's Audiophile Record Reviews. Thank you very much for viewing my video. As always, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate that. Please hit that thumbs up button. That'll help on my channel analytics. I really appreciate it. This video, I'm going to review 3 legendary jazz albums. This is my second video in this series. You know, going back and, reviewing legendary jazz albums. Some I overlooked. And, so I thought I would review some legendary jazz albums. Are these 10 out of 10s? Are these perfect jazz albums? Well, let's see in this video. Actually, one of them is a jazz fusion album. I'm going to get to that in this video. But the first one I'm going to review is a Stone Cold classic. Miles Davis, Kinda Blue. This is the 45 RPM release that was issued by Analog Productions Acoustic Sounds. This legendary album was originally released in 1959, and to the best of my knowledge, I never reviewed this album and actually gave it a score. So I'm gonna give it a score in this video. But this album features the legends Joey Cannonball Adderley, Paul Chambers, James Cobb, Jimmy Cobb, John Coltrane, Bill Evans, and Wynton Kelly on this legendary classic album by Miles Davis, his modal masterpiece. Again, originally issued in 1959, is just a lot of people, and me in particular as well, think of this as like classic jazz from that era, issued in a package of perfection. It really is, in terms of the sound and the solos by, John Coltrane and Miles Davis and Bill Evans. Bill Evans on that beautiful piece, Blue and Green. I believe that's the name of the song. What a beautiful composition and performance by Bill Evans on that piece, Blue and Green. And like I said, the solos and just the way this was recorded. It was recorded, in my opinion, exceptionally well. Of course, you're going to hear some background hiss on some from the analog tapes. But this is a magnificent performance, a groundbreaking performance, a legendary performance. It's no wonder that this is, I believe this is a best-selling jazz album of all time. If I'm incorrect, please leave your comments in the comment section below. But it is no surprise that this is the greatest jazz album of all, selling jazz album of all time, if that indeed is true. But in terms of the performances, like I said, you just hear these beautiful solos by Coltrane. Like you can hear like the echo and delay and ambience of the recording studio. And just that beautiful tone and timbre of the Miles Davis trumpet. This is a sensational jazz recording, no ifs, ands, buts about it. On my scale of 1 to 10, the performance is a solid 10. In terms of sound on this particular issue, now again, this is a 45 RPM issue by Analog Productions Acoustic Sounds. It gets a 10 as well. What a magnificent job Analog Productions Acoustic Sounds did on that version of the album. I also have this MoFi version of the album, which also is a 45 RPM version. This sounds quite excellent as well. I would give the Analog Productions version a slight edge, because with the Analog Productions, you have this sense you're closer to the tape, to the analog tape with the Analog Productions, in terms of hearing the intimate details of the instruments and the echo delay. That Analog Productions is awesome. I also have the Analog Productions 33 and a third version. And that sounds quite excellent too. That's probably the second best version I have of Miles Davis's Kinda Blue. What an exceptional, groundbreaking, legendary recording that was. I mean, when you have legendary musicians, professional musicians, Miles Davis, John Coltrane, Cannonball Adderley, Jimmy Cobb, it's almost like you can't go wrong with that crew. You really can't. But that is a 10 out of 10 in terms of sound and performance. Please leave your comments in the comment section below. Is that the granddaddy of them all when it comes to jazz records? I'm not including jazz fusion, just jazz records. Is that the best one of all time? Please leave your comments in the comment section below. But my vote goes to John Coltrane's A Love Supreme, although Kinda Blue is quite excellent. The next album I'm going to review is a jazz fusion album. Now this version of the album has a lot of ringware, has a ton of ringware, but the album is in excellent condition. I bought this at a thrift store years ago. Mahavishnu Orchestra with John McLaughlin, The Inner Mounting Flame is the name of the album. You see, this is a ringware latent version of it, but like I said, the disc is in excellent condition. As I say in all my videos, I play the album, not the album cover. This is a jazz fusion. This is a marriage, a perfect marriage between jazz and progressive rock, in my opinion, in terms of my definition of jazz fusion. But this masterpiece, which was issued in 1971, John McLaughlin, electric guitar, Jimmy Cobham drums, Rick Laird bass, John Hammer piano, Jerry Gutman violin. Jerry Gutman on violin was excellent on this album. So was John McLaughlin. Just those, matter of fact, I think all the compositions on this 1971 Mahavishnu Orchestra featuring John McLaughlin, I think they're all John McLaughlin compositions, I believe. And if you're into progressive rock, this is an excellent entry into jazz fusion as far as I'm concerned, because it does have a strong jazz fusion, vibrant groove and element and drive because of John McLaughlin on electric guitar. Billy Cobham is superb on this album. Just an excellent group for the excellent time for jazz fusion on this particular record, The Inner Mounting Flame. And if you love John McLaughlin, and if you like electric guitar, and you're into progressive rock, please check this album out. The Mahavishnu Orchestra with John McLaughlin, The Inner Mounting Flame. This is a superb album. The performance is a 10 in terms of the progressive rock and jazz fusion element of this amazing record. I have a few other Mahavishnu Orchestra albums, but that's near the top of the list in terms of Mahavishnu Orchestra albums. This one is I think their initial release in 1971, their first album. What an outstanding performance. It just simply is. You know, the violin playing of Jerry Gutman, is sensational. So is John Hammer on the keyboards. All musicians on this album, collectively and individually, in terms of their solos, in terms of the way they play as a group, that is an excellent example of progressive rock, jazz fusion, all melted together. Performance is a solid 10. The sound is not that bad at all. I'm going to give the sound a 9 on this particular pressing of the record. My pressing of this record is actually excellent. Cover is a different story. I'm going to get a repress of this at some point. John McLaughlin, Mahavishnu Orchestra, The Inner Mounting Flame. What a superb jazz fusion record that is. If you hadn't heard it, check it out. If you're into rock or progressive rock, check that album out. The next one is a great album as well, Ornette Coleman. The name of the album, I may have reviewed this one in an early video, but I thought it would fit into the theme of this video, so I'm going to just re-review it if I have reviewed this before. Ornette Coleman, Change of the Century is the name of the album, with this beautiful cover of Brother Ornette on the cover. You know, some of those albums during that era, they would include like women on the cover. I don't have any problem with women being on the cover, don't get me wrong. But they would have like everything except the artist on the cover. This has a picture of Ornette Coleman on the cover, a beautiful picture of Brother Ornette Coleman on the cover. Props to Atlantic Records for this one. But at any rate, this legendary album features Ornette Coleman. It features, Don Cherry, and it is a sensational Charlie Hayden bass, Don Cherry pocket trumpet, Billy Higgins drums. This is another all-star team. Those are legit, serious jazz musicians playing free jazz on this 1960 album. This is a repress that was probably repressed in the 70s or something like that. I'm going to get to the sound in a minute, but this is an excellent example of free jazz if you're into free jazz. There's this song on here called Free, as a matter of fact. And on that one, you have throughout this album, in that particular song, you have the bass and the drums really keeping the tempo on the bass, and you have Ornette Coleman and Don Cherry. I think Don Cherry may have been in the right speaker, Ornette Coleman in the left, or vice versa, and they're just improvising via the free jazz medium, following the pace and the rhythm of the or tempo of the drums and the bass on this sensational album. This is a masterpiece as far as I'm concerned, in terms of free jazz, in terms of expressiveness when it comes to jazz. This is the real deal as far as I'm concerned, in terms of a free jazz performance. He was really sensational around that era. He had this album called, this one, Change of the Century, Shape of Jazz to Come. He had another one called Something Else, which is quite good as well. But this one on Atlantic Records, like I said, originally released in 1960. This is a 10 when it comes to free jazz performance, as far as I'm concerned. This is a repress. I wish this album right here, Change of the Century, it deserves one of these UHQR type of treatments, as far as I'm concerned. That's how great this album is. I would love to hear this in a high quality pressing by Impex Records or Analog Productions, maybe a UHQR or Impex One Step. This one sounds sensational. It will really bring this magnificent performance for the audiophiles and the the connoisseurs of this particular medium. It really bring this record more to life, I think. Performance of 10, a solid 10 by Ornette Coleman. He had this beautiful way of expressing his music through that wonderful instrument. And same with Don Cherry. Don Cherry was a free jazz master as well. If you want to listen to a really great Don Cherry album, I have it on CD. It's called Symphony for Improvisers is the name of the Don Cherry album. Listen to it on YouTube. That's magnificent when it comes to free jazz. And so is this one. Performance of 10. Sound on this pressing of the album is a 9. This, again, that's probably a 70s repress. If I got a hold of something more high grade on that album, I would probably elevate the sound performance on that one. Same with the Mahavishnu Orchestra album. If I had a more modern pressing, that will probably elevate my score. Change of the Century, Ornette Coleman, performance of 10, sound a 9. So all the albums on this video were solid 9s. Actually 10s. They were 10s. The performances were 10s. Please leave your comments in the comment section below if you have any of those records. Please like and subscribe. God bless, strong love, and more important than music, let's keep the peace worldwide.